chromaticism, a series of half steps, or a half step somewhere where it usually doesn't belong. Incorporating chromatic notes into your lines can really level up your jazz playing, so maybe the first place you encounter a chromatic note is in the blues scale. The second most common place might be the so-called bebop scale. It was, I think, first coined by educator, composer, trombone player David Baker when he started to write books about jazz improvisation. Basically a way to add a chromatic passing note somewhere in a regular scale. So for instance, if we have a C7 chord with the corresponding C Mixolydian scale, which is a C major scale with a flattened seventh, you add the chromatic passing note between the C and the B flat. And the benefit of this bebop scale is that it lines up the chord tones. So if you start on a chord tone on the downbeat, you will continue to hit the chord tones on the downbeats. So if I play from E, this concept is used in phrases like, you don't hear it as often playing upwards. You usually have to add a few notes to make it sound right. But then we have already moved on to enclosures, which we will talk about in a minute. If you use the bebop scale over a major chord, you add it from the 6th down to the 5th. So in F major, it's D, D flat, C. And you can turn a lot of other scales into bebop scales, but it's not super useful in my opinion. It's just nice to know if people bring up the bebop scale, you know that it's just an added chromatic passing note. Another one of these theoretical constructions, and one that is much more useful I think, is the Barry Harris chromatic scale. Barry was a top-notch bebop piano player. So let's say you have a regular scale. Wherever there is a whole step, you add a chromatic passing note, and wherever there already is a half step, you add a diatonic note from the above, so a scale tone. In F major it will sound like this. And if you add some arpeggios into the mix, most of the beautiful classic bebop lines are constructed this way. Another way to think about the same thing is through chromatic approach notes, the most common being a half step from below. So in F again. If we then add a diatonic note above, so a scale tone above, we get maybe the most common enclosure. And you can, of course, have the enclosure chromatic from both sides, maybe more common just using chord tones. And you can have double chromatic notes from below and diatonic notes from above, for example. Another way is to start the enclosure half step up first. So if we want to enclose the A, we first play So if we combine all these concepts with arpeggios, of course, always arpeggios, and maybe mix in a glissando instead of tonguing a note, you get this nice kind of Carl Fontana-esque sound. So if we move into more modern territory, we can think of the chromatic scale as a universe of its own, independent of the harmony, at least temporary. We can make a chromatic adventure and then come back into the chords again. You can play things like or you can move different kind of cells chromatically up and down. So much chromatic stuff to explore. And if you feel that I moved too fast in this video, don't worry, it's just an overview, a teaser for upcoming videos where I will go more in depth, take it slower, show visually what's happening and so on. So what chromatic concept are you the most excited to learn more about? Maybe even something that I didn't talk about in this video. Let me know in the comments. I will start a playlist, it will be featured here, where I will start to input videos about chromatic concepts. So if you watch this in the future, hopefully there are some videos there for you to check out. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.